Hello, it's Thursday, the 12th of October. My name's Mark Britton, and we're here live for the Digital Lounge. Last week was the Microsoft Power Platform Conference in Nevada, Vegas. At the MGM Grand, thousands of people got together, and there was some really exciting announcements, and we're going to dig into that today because what happens in Vegas normally stays in Vegas, but on this occasion we're going to spill the beans. So all of that to come today on today's Digital Lounge. Hello everyone, joining me today, Tom and Ollie from Crimson. Hi gents, how you both doing?
Thanks,
Very
Mark.
good, thank you.
You're all good. We were just chatting before we went live about Power Platform and the kind of incredible progress that's been made. Everything seems to be about AI at the moment, and I think that's been continued with the announcements that we saw last week. So, Tom, what was sort of the standout items for you, and perhaps we can sort of work through that list and share that with our audience.
Yeah, so Mark, obviously Microsoft has invested, in terms of ChatGPT investment, OpenAI, and obviously they've branded Copilot. So Copilot, not just in use of business use in terms of sales, etc., but increasingly more so now in how you build apps. And using Copilot to either start building your apps or augmenting your apps or building your workflows, etc. So Microsoft are very much pushing that theme out and democratizing, the big word there, access to all, albeit with the challenge of governance around it. So some of the key themes last week, and we'll go into detail later on, obviously using Copilot to assist in you building your apps in the first instance, using whether they're Canvas apps, and then hopefully it will come out with model-driven apps. The big one was Copilot for Power Automate flows, where you're building workflows. The biggest cheer on the session, though, was actually there's a new flow designer coming out that will allow you to not only just use the Copilot features, but it will also allow you to manage and maintain those apps, and it'll give you a lot more, navigation capabilities, zooming in, zooming out, with the canvas and all the rest of it. So for those of us who've built fairly complicated Power Automate flows, it should make life a lot easier in that experience. The other one they've announced is a Power Up scheme for training and cross-training for individuals. We'll share that in the chat in terms of that group, and that's aimed at basically getting people up to understanding these capabilities and these technologies and that side. And then the other one that was out there, process mining. I know Ollie has discussed that previously in previous podcasts, but it's taking process mining where you can go away and point process mining at your data sources and data sets, and it'll look at for inefficiencies. Copilot now comes in, and it's described as the management consultant on your shoulder that's coming back with recommendations on inefficiencies in your processes and where you can make recommendations and how, guess what, you can use low code capabilities in Microsoft, Power Apps, Power Automate flows to improve those processes. Obviously, challenges there and in terms of how that would interact with your incumbent systems and things, as always.
Yeah.
But very much those are sort of key highlights, Mark, and then obviously we can drill into some of those.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got on the next show we're going to be talking about the Wave release. Do you are there more things to come over the next 6 months? Do you
I
see?
think increasingly, Mark, you're going to see Microsoft investing more and more. At the end of the day, let's just say I can't remember what it was, how much they've invested in OpenAI. So was it $10 billion, I think it was, or $18 billion. Unfortunately, they need to recoup that investment, how they're going to look at it and how they can bring those features into their platforms. I said, not just in Power Platform, but also into, dare I say, into Microsoft 365, in how you work with Office 365, Teams, Office, Outlook, all of that aspect, as well as using it within the Power Platform estate. I think it's obviously the new features have all been on preview. They're all in the US at the moment, data centers, and if you stand up trials over there, I think it was 31st of October. I think Ollie, I think it was when it hits the UK data centres and
That's
starts to
right.
roll.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the 31st. So the ones that they mentioned would be GA. So generally available are the Power Automate Copilot, and the Process Mining Copilot is available. And then some of the other ones are public preview. So they'll all be dropping in the UK data centers on the 31st. Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Okay. And I think we said that if anybody wants a demo of anything that we're going to talk about today, we can look into that. So get in contact at
yeah,
Crimson. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, contact me initially if you like, mark.britton@crimson.co.uk, and that's BRITTON. Okay, so blimey, there's a bit there to sort of get into. Should we start with Power Pages? So Power Pages is still a relatively new product, isn't it? How long has Power Pages been around for now? It feels like it's a new
So
product.
yeah, yes and no. I mean, the
Yeah.
label of Power Pages hasn't been around for that long, but the
Right.
underlying sort of technology has come from quite a while. But it's evolved. It has evolved.
Mm,
The newest element of Power Pages that comes through around Copilot, so Copilot for Power Pages, really then it gets you that step closer to being able to, as somebody that doesn't know any code or doesn't write HTML, be able to write relatively good portal applications for your customers. And there's some additional elements that go into that. One of the biggest pain points that certainly that we see with this area is the styling side of things. So being able to sort of have the same look and feel as maybe your corporate website, you want to
mm,
spin up a portal to do some sort of elements. You want to adopt the same themings, the same styles as your corporate website. Brilliant. Copilot, if you point it to a specific URL, it will do its best to try and copy that theme and represent that theme in your new portal. So
mm.
for me, that's fantastic, and that will be a real big pain reliever for some of these sort of low code, no code developers coming up.
Mm. It's almost low code, no code, robo code. It's kind of we talk about this sort of developer on your shoulder all the time now. It's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is, Mark. And again, obviously, I will be mindful of is all of these technologies capabilities are giving you to a point. It's how far does it go before you need to look at it in terms of, as we could call it, you've hit the brick wall type capabilities, and you need to then look at it in terms of more experienced, come in, look at it in terms of, dare I say,
Mm,
how does it fit into your estate? How does it fit with your governance processes? How does it sit alongside your incumbent systems,
mm.
etc.? Because if you're not careful, this could be a free for all, as
Yes,
always,
and
and it's about
yeah.
managing that side. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, if we think about today, so many companies have got hundreds, if not thousands, maybe sometimes, of Excel spreadsheets. You hear these horror stories of
yeah,
very large companies that are running on a Excel spreadsheet essentially,
yeah,
and
yeah.
this is putting Excel on steroids, isn't it?
It is. It's what we call in the old days. We used to have SharePoint as a vehicle to try and remove this world of Excel and bring it
Mm,
in. What you're
mm,
trying to do now is you can take those processes that you've had to do outside because you've been, dare I say, trying to get IT support. IT are very busy operational systems, and it's
mm,
basically taking this capability in and allowing you to build these, I call these sort of simple apps in a controlled manner in terms of your estate. And dare I say, dare I say, from an IT perspective, you're getting access and control to one set of data rather than being farmed out in Excel spreadsheets and people have got their own variations of things going on.
mm,
Um, no, you still need to apply that same governance, even when you're doing this with these Copilot apps, etc. But nevertheless, you're bringing it into a more managed world rather
mm.
than a chaotic world, as I call it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's got to be a huge cultural change there, though, hasn't there? Because the go-to tool, and I know Power Pages is an exception because it obviously is for a different use for a different thing, but the go-to tool would always be, oh, I'll open up an Excel spreadsheet and we'll create something in there, and that's got to be broken, hasn't it? And are you seeing organisations overcoming that sort of resistance at the moment, or is it too early to say?
I'd say it's probably a little too early to tell. I mean, if you think about how long certainly generative AI has been in this space, it's still early days, and I think companies are trying to find their feet with how to best utilize low-code no-code technologies for their citizen developers. And that is exactly what Tom was saying. You've got to remember about the governance. You've got to have the right governance and the right steps in place. But Microsoft are helping us on that journey. There's things like the Center of Excellence Toolkit, which we've talked about before, but also this Power Up sort of user group, being able to have a group of people all join together, all on that journey to sort of upskill themselves into this new technology is going to give you that advantage, and hopefully convince people that actually spending a boatload of time making this monstrosity in Excel and having that proliferate around the business is not as effective or as useful as your time as actually talking through Copilot and getting something built out there, and that then when it becomes a useful tool or an application that you want to then evolve, you get your Fusion team of professional developers to support you to make that a good enterprise application. So fingers crossed that that's the way. I think that's certainly where we would love to see this go, because it is something that fits really well with what we do and what we help our
Yeah.
customers with.
Yeah, we're certainly on the frontier of something here, aren't we? I was listening to a podcast the other day from one of the founders of DeepMind, so the enemy, and he was saying that this next 10 years is going to be a huge shift in productivity globally. And this is going to be a huge driver for that. And yeah, we're just at that forefront at the moment. I'm conscious of time, gents, so let's sort of work through some of the other areas. So we've touched on Power Pages, Canvas apps, similar kind of story there with being able to create the apps using AI. Then is that the gist of it?
Very much so, Mark. In terms of, dare I say, you can go off and ask it to start with building an app. I want to do something of this nature. Ask it in natural language. What it then does, it goes behind the scenes, looks at its library of, I call it reference apps behind the scenes, and basically will start to create one for you and stand up the underlying tables, etc., that are required to support the data storage, create the screens, create the app, and then basically you can then tailor it as appropriate. The one that we used very quickly was an inspection app. We asked it, go away, build me an inspection app for basically, whether you're in inspections, move outs as university or property developers, whatever of that nature. Go away, build me an inspection app, and it goes away, builds one up. It already has a reference of what he thinks an inspection app will need in terms of columns and tables, builds the screens, builds the forms, builds the galleries, and and then you can then extend it. You can then tweak it to suit your needs and wants. And again, ask it through like natural language to, dare I say, change the interface, change the screen, add a control, add this, and it will basically do it there in front of you, evolving as you go along. Yep.
And realistically, how good is that? Is it? We've got to set expectations here because
Yeah.
we've got to watch out for that hype, haven't we?
It is, Mark. It's what I call, dare I say, it might get you to the 60 to 80% of what you're looking for. Yeah. And it's that then refining it. But also, I'd also caution it's that element of, I said before, at what point do I hit a brick wall? Because I've built my app, but then, oh, hang on, I now need to integrate it. I now need to do other things. I need to make sure there's the alignment of governance in terms of description of these fields and values. How does it align to the corporate standards, if you like, in that context? There's all of those considerations, in terms of that perspective. But then go back to your analogy before. If somebody was tracking it in an Excel spreadsheet, all of that system was all off system. What you're now doing is bringing it into the center, so you started to provide some more governance and control around those sort of aspects. I think the phrase we used to use in the old days was core and edge. So effectively, these edge applications that were out there in the periphery that you didn't know about, you're bringing them into the center, and you're starting to get some control around it. and then you can start to take it forward from that perspective.
So some of the skills people are going to need with this AI, then it's all about how good the prompt is. This is what I'm learning as I'm playing with just ChatGPT. It's, the better the prompt, the better the more that you can get out of the system. And it sounds like this is exactly the same with building apps, with building Power Pages.
It is very much so.
It is. Yeah. It's the prompting side, but it's also the knowledge of exactly how applications are being built. You can still build a monstrosity of a Power App if you're not building it in the right way. So it's those sort of governance and guidelines that you can build an application as a low code no code citizen developer, but there will be a point where you sit there and go, okay, well, now I do need some assistance from the people that actually build this and do this for a job. There'll be certain things that you will absolutely need to know to build it correctly and have it resilient, and future proof and those sort of things. And this is the funny thing. This is just one side of the sort of the co-pilot side of Power Apps. The other side of this is actually having Copilot as a control within your built application. And there's some huge amount of benefits to that as well. So say we've built this application now, and we've actually added a control to the side of this, which enables you to use Copilot as an assistant to whatever that application's doing. One of the demonstrations that happened in the keynote speech at the conference was actually that they integrated the Copilot into an application and also used virtual agent to then reach out to actually consume external data to consider what they were doing within the application. So you can see how Copilot can actually try and keep you in the context of the application, but actually consume external data using virtual agents to actually enhance what the agent or what the user's actually doing on the application. And that's a whole nother side to Copilot and to what's going on. So yeah, loads to learn, loads to think about. But definitely, it's a big game changer. And it's what you're saying. Microsoft are hedging their bets that the AI and Copilot is going to be the next revolution.
Yeah, I mean, I was also at a Microsoft conference in London, and one of the slides that stuck out for me, I've just got it up on my phone now. This was a survey of business leaders. 82% of leaders say employees will need new skills to prepare for AI. And in order of priority, the top ones: analytical judgment, flexibility, emotional intelligence, creative evaluation. These aren't coding skills. These are the next wave of skills that are going to be the prioritized, I'm guessing. And I'd imagine this bar of what AI is going to be capable of doing is just it's exponential, isn't it? It's going to just become incredible over the next few years, I'd imagine.
I think,
the
art
yeah,
form,
sorry.
Mark, So, Mark, the art form then is, as Ollie's alluded to there, it's asking the right question in the first place of what you want to do. The way I described it in the old days, or current days as we are today, guess what? We all use Google, or Bing, depending on your preference there. And the art form has all been asked, dare I say, how did I phrase my search to find something that I want to reference that I can go and, dare I say, plagiarize or copy and paste from? Yeah. What the same applies here with the natural language aspect in terms of, it's the art form of understanding what you're trying to do in the first instance and explaining it in the right way and asking in the right way to make sure you're not getting back false positives. Yeah.
And do we know what we want?
Well,
versus what we need.
And for those who work on projects, invariably, how do you manage change? Because invariably what you asked for, and then you start to evolve it, and no, that's not what I really wanted, and you start evolving it, you can't say change. There's all of those practical considerations, as always, that you've got to think about, even in this new world of AI.
Yeah. So you mentioned Power Up, and do we have access to that at the moment? Is that a free
it is.
tool?
So a Power Up is basically an opportunity for people to cross train and learn these new skills, whether in Power Platform, but in the past it was there for individuals. This is allowing you to do group learning. I've put it in the chat, and we can make it available in the comments, Mark,
Yeah.
etc. But it is a program that Microsoft brought out. The stat that they are quoting, you ready for this one? By 2025, 70% of all new applications built by enterprises will use low code, no code features and capabilities. Yeah. And that's up from less than 25% in 2020. So if you see where the direction of travel is going, that's a skills deficiency combining that with AI and Copilot. How do I, dare I say, leverage this capability within my organization? How do I cross-train? That's what the Power Up program is there for. It's to impart knowledge and learn, collaborative learning, etc., on these features and capabilities. Yeah?
Okay.
And there is
yeah.
new careers in this capability.
Yeah. So just for those listening on the audio podcast, so that's Power Up, all one word, powerup.microsoft.com. And that's different to Microsoft Learn.
It's encompassing. It's a wrapper. It's a program that sits above that, Mark, that brings it all together under the covers. You still got the Microsoft Learn with all these specific targeted articles. This is more about a collaborative program in terms of, dare I say, learning materials over the top, training programs, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so process mining, Ollie, as we mentioned earlier, we talked about process mining on a previous show, but now this is extended again. So they've changed the name, and they're changing it again. So what are the new features? Perhaps remind listeners of what process mining is again, and then we can talk about what's new.
Yeah, sure. So very, very quickly, process mining is a way of consuming a load of data about your processes. So activities, what happened, when it happened, who was involved, etc. And rather than asking a person, "Oh, tell me your process," and they may simplify some things, and they may just go, "Well, I do this and this and this and this and this." And you're like, "Okay, very simple." Well, actually, in reality, we know that processes are way more complex than that. And actually looking at a data view of your processes and working out where the bottlenecks are, and actually what happens in reality is very, very useful to then work out, okay, how can I improve this process by, digitalizing or, changing resource or upskilling or working out some proactive way of changing the process. Now, as I said in the last the podcast, just using process mining is fantastic because it's going to get you so many insights that could take you a long, long time to learn. But one of the things you have to do is you kind of need somebody there to look at the statistics, do some root cause analysis, really dive into some of the areas that have been visualized for you through this process. Hey, brilliant, AI and Copilot comes along. Well, they're making that easier now, right? So it's what Tom said. You're going to have your business owner, your business analyst sat there, and it can now ask Copilot questions about that process. So things like, provide me the top insights of that process, summarize that process. It may be that you've grabbed a whole load of data and you actually want to summarize, well, what is this process actually doing? And using the large language model and an AI Copilot, it will give you a summary of that, and then you can start talking about data qualities and diving into where are my long running processes, and ask specific elements about the process according to the attributes you've added into there. So, say you wanted to split and understand a process that's being done in two different regions or two territories. You can ask Copilot and say, okay, what's my bottleneck? What's the difference between, the territory A and territory B, and it will give you, the difference in case duration, the difference in bottlenecks potentially. So it just enables, again, just a lower entry point to be able to analyze and work out the efficacy of your processes and where you need to concentrate on making that digital change.
Okay. Sounds very
So, yeah.
powerful. Have you had a chance? I'm guessing you've not had a chance to play with that yet, and with the new features.
So as soon as it was announced, I was like, okay, so I've got to really get on and learn this. And yes, I have. So yeah, I've chucked up onto a US tenant because obviously we don't have availability in the UK until the 31st. But if anybody's going to the South Coast Summit on Saturday, my session actually includes a lot more detail around, process, the process mining, how to actually get it configured, and I will be showing the Copilot elements in that as well.
Awesome. Gents, I'm really conscious of time, and I know that you mentioned near the start, Tom, that Flow Designer got the biggest cheer out of everything. Why is that? What is it, and why should people care about that?
Again, Mark, there's two. I said the Flow Designer. It's a completely. They've reimagined the interface. Yeah. So they've basically gone in there. They've got pan and zoom capabilities on your flow. You can pan around it. You see what's going on. You can go on that side. Dare I say, even small things like copying and pasting and things of that nature have been improved in terms of the intelligence. So it's a whole different way. The interface on the one hand is by far the biggest one. Never mind the Copilot features alongside it in terms of the capabilities that you can now add in. To say, I think the example I think Ollie was quoting earlier when we were talking earlier was an example where, dare I say, I want to send I'm already sending in my flow, I'm sending out an email, but if I want to go out there and copy my manager on that email, it's not just going in and saying putting the copy in, it's going away and working out how to go and get your manager. So it's going back into querying Office 365 Azure AD, looking in there to see where they've got the data, or maybe it's going into that side. So it's adding those steps in to derive how I get the manager and then putting it into the create email step for you. So it's adding those capabilities well alongside that side. I said the big one on the interface is more around the flexibility in terms of the way you can navigate search across your flow, see what's going on. I said if you've built big flows in the system at the moment, invariably with the new current interface, dare I say, the browser invariably slows up and starts to, in some cases, crash on you. They've reimagined that design. So it basically takes it easier in terms of managing existing large flows as well as simple flows and that capability around it. That's been a bugbear for those who have worked with Power Automate for years. It's been a real bugbear when you've got that side. So it's that whole new interface. Obviously, it will look, the way I understand it's coming in, it will work alongside the existing designer. For those of us in the past who basically you turn on the preview features and then you can basically turn it on or off so you can see it in the new mode when it comes in. Yeah. And obviously it will work with the existing flow definitions. You're not having to do anything. It'll take the underlying under the covers. The flows are also obviously stored in XAML. It's still using those existing flow definitions and you're just launching it in the new Canvas editor on that side.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, I think that's probably all we've got time for today. Tom, Ollie, thank you very much for joining the call. Ollie, I dare say you're going to be joining us for the next show on the 26th of October for the Wave release discussion. So we'll be looking a bit more about around Power Platform, but also Dynamics 365, see what's coming there as well. So I'll see you both soon. Thank you very much for joining. Okay.
Cheers all.
Right, that's all we've got time for today. If anything has caught your ear today that sounds of interest, don't forget we do have a series of workshops, and that usually starts with a discovery call. If you go to crimson.co.uk and go onto our website, you'll find the buttons around the site to request a discovery call. That would be 15 minutes or so with one of our consultants to talk about your particular challenges, what you're interested in, and we can explore whether there's potentially Microsoft funding for a proof of concept around what you might like to do for your business. So definitely check that out. We are available on YouTube and LinkedIn. We stream live there, but we're also a podcast now. Wherever you listen to this show, thank you very much for listening, but also if you could like and share that would be fantastic. That would make sure other people that are interested in this content can more easily find us. So until then, I am going to bid you a farewell, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks on the Digital Lounge. Thank you.